And welcome back. You are watching VGL Season 1 of our 2v2 season. This is Game 3 between DudeFromBrzl and Celo versus ElPolloLoco and Crump. Both of these teams undefeated. One of them will get their first loss of the season here tonight, and we'll have to see how this plays out in what is supposed to be a very exciting Game 3. We've seen some epic play on both parts of the match. We've seen Celo and DudeFromBrzl do some excellent early harass. We've seen Pollo and Crump execute some great transitional harassments and coordinated attacks, and we'll have to see how it plays out today. DudeFromBrzl and Celo, losing the last game, were allowed to choose for this map, and they chose Scorched Haven, of what is becoming a staple favorite of this team. They typically have chosen Scorched Haven several times throughout the season, and you have to wonder if they just like the early expansion locations as well as the travel distance between the bases. This is a little misleading on Scorched Haven. These bases appear to be very close together, but when you look at the travel distance, especially when you're talking about a Protoss reinforcing a Zerg, it is very slow. That's a very long march for those Zealots to come in here and try to get to Pollo's base to defend. Pollo with Lings a little bit easier to defend against anything that Crump may get thrown at him, but still quite a bit of distance with this large arch to just kind of come in there. We do see some early scouting from DudeFromBrzl. Looks like he wants to see what route Pollo might be going. It doesn't look like he's scouted Crump yet. We do see Pollo with his typical peace offering coming over here to see if anyone wants to settle this peacefully. He doesn't want any more Zergs to get hurt. But he definitely wants to preserve that undefeated record as well. And you see DudeFromBrzl here futilely just attacking this pylon here, most likely just trying to distract Crump and just try to throw him off, be a little annoying. DudeFromBrzl definitely not completely unknown for him to do some early annoyance. He used to be known for taking gas a lot, and people were not a big fan of that at all. He has since stopped doing that, apparently. But if he gets trapped in here, I won't put it past him to try and do it. So we do see an early Cybernetic core going down. We also see a spawning pool coming down from Pollo, not taking any chances. He's going spawning pool first. We do see spawning pools already in action for DudeFromBrzl, and Celo's spawning pool has just popped. Take a look at production tab here, and we should see DudeFromBrzl putting down a hatchery. Yeah, that is very typical DudeFromBrzl. Definitely wants to take advantage of these early expansion sites. We do see speed as well coming down for some of the Zerg players, and just some more probes for Crump. Take a look at units. We'll see pretty dead even on the worker counts. Celo and DudeFromBrzl falling behind just a tad bit on the worker counts, but not by much. We'll have to see what they do, and here comes the peace offering, once again rejected for the third time in a row. Pollo, of course, hoping that this drone has some kind of hidden stock market in it where this mineral will be worth more after he's waited all this time. Unfortunately, it is not. So that mineral went for a trip for seemingly no reason. And we see warp gates under construction now, as well as not much else. Looks like outside of the Roach Horn, looks like very standard build for Celo and DudeFromBrzl. We saw a very similar play from them last game. Did not work out very well for them, but they do have an advantage of not having a shared base. If you remember in that last game, they attempted to rush that wall and it just did not work. They do have a narrow passage here, but they also have two to choose from. So Crump, of course, having his very fortified in here, and you know, unfortunately, Pollo, being a Zerg player, is going to have to rely on mass units to kind of block this. You do see some Banelings coming in, though. That will help to deter any kind of Zergling attacks. We do see DudeFromBrzl kind of marching this queen over here, trying to get Pollo out of here. And Celo getting a little too close to this Overlord. He may have seen these roaches here and know what to expect. If that is the case, we should hopefully see him try to produce something to counter it, or at least get Crump to move some stuff. We see DudeFromBrzl signaling, hey, give me that Xel'Naga. And these roaches, very expensive Xel'Naga units, I'll tell you that much. Might be putting them here just to hide them out of sight. And we'll have to see how this plays out. Looks like they are definitely preparing for some kind of early attack, though. Try to get something in here. We see two more warp gates coming down for, or gateways, I should say, coming down for Crump. And we do see nice little Baneling Zergling ball building up here for ElPolloLoco. And we'll have to see if this early attack is still going to happen. Celo definitely creeping in here. You see some Lings coming in as well. DudeFromBrzl with his own batch of Lings, obviously a little bit behind because of that extra hatch. We do see coordinated attack coming in here. This is going to be very interesting. Oh no, these Lings are pulling out. They got to be careful. They do not want to leave this ramp open. Do not waste those Banelings either. There are plenty of Lings here to use the Banelings on. And unfortunately, It looks like Dude from Brazil is going to get his way. He's only got a few lings standing in his path. He's probably going to bolt straight for that mineral line, and he is. He's going straight for that mineral line. We see Evolution Chamber popping just as they come in. That queen, unfortunately, is going to get killed. Pollo pulling those workers out as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, Crump with only 4 stalkers. Take a look at the unit tab here. Crump only has 6 stalkers to his name. That is not going to be enough. They could lose it right here, right now, as these lings are easily going to tear through these stalkers as well as these roaches. This is very, very bad situation for them. Pollo with only a handful, and Dude from Brazil and Celo, a little bit of a lag there in response time. It looks like there was not an attack move order really issued there, and unfortunately Pollo has to cancel this expansion. He is just too nervous with all this moving around, needs to save as much minerals as he can. He barely has enough to restart. Completely broken. It looks like he will lose his entire main base here. It's very disastrous. See Pollo trying to get into the safety of Crump's base and create some banelings here. We see a string of units coming in. This is a very strong early attack. Unfortunately, Pollo's early scouting did not scout long enough to really see anything, and he had that Overlord kicked out, so unfortunately he's just completely blind here. See Crump though finally blocking this ramp, trying to whittle down these Zerglings here, and that will be somewhat effective. A good move on Crump's part to try and prevent this attack. Unfortunately, Pollo's main base is completely lost. This is disastrous for ElPolloLoco. This will definitely hinder his ability to help for the rest of the game, and you have to wonder how he's going to try to bounce back from this. The only thing they have going for them is that on the economy side, Celo has done absolutely nothing. Dude from Brazil is all in on minerals, which means his Tech 2 abilities are very limited. See Celo just trying to expand now with only 13 harvesters. This is definitely not going to go well at all for them. So there is a little bit of an economy hit that they can try to take advantage of, but Crump is going to have to be very diligent here, and they're going to have to get Pollo back to work as quickly as possible. This is essentially a 2-on-1 situation, and at every second that goes by that Crump is not counterattacking or attempting to do something, it is allowing them to bounce back from their early economy harass. We do see these banelings from Pollo rolling in here. He's going to try to... Oh, and it looks like he will... No! Oh my goodness! Pollo with a complete just... I don't even know how to explain that. Possibly the worst micro mistake of the entire series. He had an opportunity to bling all these workers, and he instead of manually blinging, allowed the AI to go for the queen as the primary aggressor and pull aggro. Absolutely devastating. He would have completely crippled Dude from Brazil, sent him back to sub 10 workers. Unbelievable. That is definitely going to notch most likely the victory here. I cannot believe that just happened. We see Celo finally going for Tech 2, arguably with just not enough workers, though. I mean, Celo, I'd like to see him try to go for some more workers first. At 15 workers, he's basically one basing on 2 bases, and, we see him putting down tons and tons of buildings. I mean, and on top of that, spore crawlers, which is a little questionable considering that the Muta threat is pretty much eliminated here. So not really sure what's going through Celo's mind, if he's expecting phoenixes or what's going on. They really haven't scouted anything to make them indicate that they would be getting air from the Protoss player. So this may just be muscle memory taking over for Celo, just going with some kind of default build here. But, we also see a Hydralisk Den going down. It looks like Celo is definitely building for anti-air, even though there is no indication whatsoever that there's any air. And ElPolloLoco, as far as they can tell, has been completely taken out of the game, and that has not changed. So these workers are still kind of hovering around here. You see Dude from Brazil watching for an expansion. Map control has definitely swayed in favor of Dude from Brazil and Celo, but some questionable choices from Celo here, as he is arguably wasting a lot of economy, just not droning up right now, and just building tons and tons of buildings. It looks like now he's finally starting to catch up on the worker count, but a lot of anti-air for really no purpose whatsoever. You do see Crump with a lot of stalkers here, but with so many Zerglings on the map, you really want to see him try to build some Zealots. Those Zealots act as a great meat shield for anything Zergling, and even though there are light unit, they also act as a pretty good meat shield against Banelings too. But really, a Stalker Zealot mix would be great against the double Zerg team, especially early when they're still on Tech 1, 1.5, and this attack unfortunately coming a little bit late. We see Crump just kind of roaming around. There is an extra base going down from Dude from Brazil. It has not been spotted yet. We have not really seen much scouting. We still see no attempts to rebuild from ElPolloLoco. And you know, Crump really needs to make a move soon. He cannot let these Zergs bounce back from their economy, from the economy hit they took for one basing that attack. We do see Crump finally going with an attempt to blink in, but unfortunately it's going to be met with a lot of Zerglings. It is not going to go well at all. Unfortunately, he's got to wait another few seconds before he can blink at it. He will take this Overlord down. Dude from Brazil a little slow to react there, but finally rushing in there. Unfortunately, he will blink out of the way. A little bit of an over response too. It's a little overkill here, but you know, this match, you have to kind of wonder if Celo and Dude from Brazil are still a little bit nervous that maybe they didn't hurt Pollo as bad as they think they did. I mean, they did a really good job taking him out, and they you know, Celo's Zergling here is telling him, hey, he hasn't rebuilt yet. He hasn't rebuilt here. You know, they have eyes on this base here, so they're pretty sure. I mean, they have eyes pretty much everywhere. Map control is really swayed in their favor, so they are fully aware that Pollo is not rebuilt. They are aware this is a one-on-one, a 2v1 situation, that there's only one team left. You know, Hydralisk will still come in handy, even though there's no air threat anymore. But you know, they need to try and push on this. They don't want to let Crump just kind of sit back and possibly give Pollo the chance to rebuild. But a big mistake not having Pollo rebuild. I would have loved to see Pollo try to rebuild sooner. It looks like he really has no intention of trying to rebuild whatsoever. Considering how much longer this game has gone on since that initial attack, he probably could have rebuilt something, had some Banelings, which would have greatly helped out. Even if he only had Banelings, would have greatly helped out against all these Zerglings here. And you know, Crump, of course, without going with any Zealots, is kind of just holding on to the fact that, you know, his DT, we do see DT, and we do see a robotics facility here, but, you know, one basing and trying to build those are very expensive units. Zealots are arguably a cheaper solution for this. See Celo also pulling down an extra base here. Crump not even lifting a finger to defend this base. He realizes if he moves out of this area, he will sacrifice his main to this very mobile group of Zerglings. And this is just not looking good at all. It's basically like the creeping death here, just waiting for this confinement strategy to come into place here. We see a small subset of Stalkers go off. These Zerglings are going to attempt to come in here and try to take down this wall. The Dude from Brazil will lose quite a few Zerglings. We take a look at that unit count, and it's just staggering here. Celo alone has enough Hydralisks to take out all these Stalkers. We have a single Colossi on play. Range upgrade not complete. We do see a nice band of very slowly moving Hydralisks roaming around. These Stalkers attempting to harass over here at this expansion from Celo. Kind of a moot point, though. You know, Crump cleverly blinking behind this mineral line to drop down the surface area of the attack. Inability to get around. Unfortunately, these Hydralisks don't really care. You see Crump taking advantage of this and trying to roll out. This works very well when both of their team members are active, but unfortunately, being a 2-on-1 situation, and you know, it's not going to be enough. And we already see the Hydralisks and Zerglings roaming towards their base. Crump is really going to have to make some magic happen here if he wants anything to work. I mean, he does have a completely undefended base. There are some Mutalisks out. He does have enough to deal with that threat, but he really needs to attack now. The hesitation on Crump's part is really what's hurting him more than anything right now. You know, he just, unfortunately, oh, what a bad blink. This is now the second micro mistake from this team, and it is just really costing them. First, the blink mistake from Pollo, which could have really crippled Dude from Brazil, and now that blink mistake there, delaying this attack long enough for Dude from Brazil to respond a little bit and get a little bit of preparation here. And this is just not looking good at all. He's going to try to snipe out this Colossi. Will he get it? He will. He will get the Colossi. These Mutas should go down, but unfortunately these Zerglings are going to make a very hard time for these blinking Stalkers. It is, however, allowing Celo to, for some unbelievable reason, pull back this entire army of troops here, even though Dude from Brazil is more than enough to take out these Stalkers. It just seems like on both teams we're just seeing a lot of bad decision making on the micro. I mean, some of it just mistakes, and some of it just I just don't understand why. I mean, we saw Celo go air defense, even though the Zerg player was taken out on the other side. We see them pulling both armies back to defend against a handful of Stalkers that, you know, arguably Dude from Brazil had more than enough to defend against with this batch of Lings here. So we just see some really interesting choices here from both teams. Now here we do have some DTs on play. Unfortunately, Celo has brought a observer with him, and unless they're willing to snipe that observer, or at least push it out of the way, these DTs are going to do some work on these Hydralisks here, but they will dispatch those using an Overseer, and you know, this is not looking good at all. The wall is down. Pollo leaves the game, basically a spectator for most of it. Crump leaving the game as well, handing the victory. That means ElPolloLoco and Crump will take their first loss of the season, and they have continued this winning streak of Dude from Brazil and Celo. Really, this game, ended early with Pollo being taken out so quickly. I disagree strongly with Pollo's decision not to try and rebuild. I understand it would have been difficult, but with a Protoss player and really with only Tech 1 units from a Zerg to defend against, you could have definitely tried to go at least Ling Bling, something very one base, and the Blings would have definitely lent a big hand to this very primarily light unit army that they were using. And the other decision, of course, is that miss micro with the Blings. I know Pollo is kicking himself for that. He probably realizes he had a chance to really equalize the match early on, or at least do massive damage to DudeFromBrzl's economy, and he's definitely kicking himself there. Definitely came down to a handful of mistakes in both losses, so Crump and Pollo should not feel too bad. They came very close to defeating this team, but unfortunately just had a few too many mistakes compared to the other team, and it cost them this victory. We'll have to see how they bounce back in the rest of the season, with both teams arguably still very highly profiled and very highly favored for playoff contention.